and that can stand toe-to-toe against Rogue. If you don't hit the sword and you're just playing Intrepid Initiate on 1 into, say, a secret played from hand, it's so easily picked apart by prize plunderers, even Penflinger from Rogue. Notably, from TIZ's list, there's also a preparation thrown in there, which could come in handy with the Wicked Stabs as removal tools.
And while his background may have changed, it's a new year and new meta. Tom enters the camera, enters the frame, arms thrown back. His classic trademark position to just indicate to both his opponent and the game, I don't give a damn. I'm cool. The cool guy of APAC, as I am randomly dubbing him now.
Assert dominance. Oh, the broom is back! It's back in Paladin. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty good, actually, I'd imagine.
Although these spells are looking pretty mediocre. The Encounter's Flow can make your secrets cost 0, but you don't want to play the secrets in the first place. You want to draw them out with the sword. I think it's Cram Session here, even if it's a single draw.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like, Ring Toss is terrible in Paladin as well, because you have to discover Paladin secrets, which aren't even good. But Tom's saying, all right, 4 mana to discover a secret. That sounds good enough to me.
Yikes.
Indeed.
And this watch post on 2 is also yikes. You see, TIZ keep that. It is very difficult for Paladin to deal with this early, and you can see the repercussions makes the Crab Rider expensive, and Tom would naturally want to hand of a doll this one thief to try and get the damage on the watch post, but the card drawn off that will also be made more expensive.
And while Tom does have the opportunity here to clear off the watch post here, I'm actually a big fan of just leaving it up for a turn here. The way his hand is shaking out with the Hammer of the Naru there as well, you really want to save that coin and maybe just kill it off with Crab Rider or Broom next turn. So I like his decision to hold back here.
Agreed. I think the coin is far too valuable to use on a single broomstick here. And if you are not killing the watch post, I'm a big fan of not preemptively damaging it, because putting the Wand Thief down to 2 HP means it gets in range of, say, Penflinger, Bounce Penflinger. For TIZ, this hand, when Jandice comes online, is going to be nuts. But for now, it's doing a whole lot of nothing. Yikes.
Yeah, this is garbage. Absolute garbage. He needed, like, Octobot there to get Jandice online next turn. Because right now, way too slow. Like, you can Shadow Step your Penflinger, which sounds absolutely dreadful. Or you can just chill out and not do anything for the moment, which seems more sensible. Oh, and look at that. 3-mana Sword of the Fallen. Who knows, eh? Who knows?
Wink, wink. A perfect draw for Tom there. Lets him take the clean clear without having to expend the coin. And now the Northwatch commanders will be active. Again, Tom is running more secrets than your traditional Libram version. 2 Noble Sacrifice in there.
Weird choice there for TIZ, because obviously I like the idea of going for Prep Swindled in order to deal with the Oh My Yog that could potentially come down. But then you're kind of wandering into Galloping Savior that could go very, very poorly for you if you have to go Prep Swindle. Admittedly, it's a one-of in the list, so it was, I think, probably the correct way to go around here for TIZ, but it just highlights how awkward it is to play around Paladin secrets.
Yes. TIZ now didn't quite get anything he wants to play immediately off of the Swindle, but he can test for Noble Sack and just redagger. It has knowledge now that it's neither Noble nor Galloping, nor Oh My Yog, so it's 100% Avenge.
Ooh. That is an interesting card to have found here. Like, obviously I was just thinking you jam the Northwatch Commander here, but Gossiper, if you do get the Noble Sacrifice down, could be pretty annoying for your opponents to try and deal with.
It's true. That's the combination that makes the Gossiping difficult to deal with. The floated mana, admittedly, is a bit iffy, though, so I'm fine with Tom just going with the Northwatch and picking up a cheap minion for his trouble.
We're going to see 1 Jandice this turn, very possibly 2 Jandice next turn as well, with both the Shadow Steps, hoping for rushes, taunts, well-statted minions, Razor Main. That's not bad.
As long as this is not Oh My Yog. But even if it is, as long as the Oh My Yog doesn't turn into a backstab, which then kills the Jandice, the other Shadow Step is going to hit the Jandice. Although it's really difficult to parse, because by that point, you proc the potential Galloping Savior. The only one he knows for sure that was on board previously was Avenge. So TIZS is just going to stop here. Okay. So he knows this is Avenge plus either Noble Sack or Galloping, I believe.
Yes.
And so the Noble Sack plus Avenge combo is the most annoying because one will almost certainly trigger the other.
I mean, that is old school Secret Paladin nightmare that you've been up against that. That takes me way back.
Aye, unlucky for Tom there. I mean, it was a good sequence to start with. Gave him a 50-50 to actually get a good outcome from the Frenzy. I think he was still prepared for this outcome though, because this is the perfect setup for the gossiping Crossroads person. Gosh, I keep messing this up. Because now you have the Noble Sack to cover with Avenge. So one secret will almost certainly go off. And if you have the the Oh My Yog trifecta, that means that the rogue's best option of getting rid of the Crossroads without proccing the other secrets, which is playing a spell, is also covered to some extent. Not again. Cram session. It's always cram session.
I think I'm a fan of Refreshing Spring Water. Like, that very often is 2 mana draw 2 here, right? I think as Rogue.
Okay, fair. Good thing for TIZS, he has the Prize Plunderer, so that will help him take down the Crossroads Gossiper. I think he has to play Penfinger first.
Yeah, but then it could proc the Galloping Savior, right?
Oh, true.
Like, no matter how you sequence this, it's pretty difficult to clear that off.
Yeah. I mean, the important thing is he'll have Prize Plunder with Shadow Step.
Yeah.
So I think it's fine. Oh no, but there are certain combinations where this works out pretty poorly.
Oh, no, he doesn't have time.
Did he finish? Oh, I'm so worried. The animations keeping us on the edge of our seats. But he did have the clear on the Gossiper.
But not with the Oh My Yog, which he knew it was at that point, right? If he had had more time, he could have realized Galloping Savior didn't proc, so it was 100% the Oh My Yog. It was a bit of a fluff turn, and it means he is going to tank a huge amount of damage on this turn. This 10 going to face is a big, big deal.
Certainly. I mean, I don't know if there was any way to do that turn with a guaranteed clear on the Gossiper. Difficult to do even with full knowledge. But now Tom can go for the throats. Even just the hammer swing. Maybe respect the minion still as long as the 10-5 goes face. Oh, certainly this seems like a good broom opportunity as well.
Yeah, super clean. Allows the damage to go face, clears everything up. Jandis out of the way. And Lethal well and truly set up here. And no taunts, no healing in the deck. It has to be a clear on this Gossip for TIZS to stay in the game.
Too quiet.
And that means, I guess, going in with the Penflingers. If he hits Wicked Stab, he has the clear.
Right. I mean, I kind of actually liked the look of Secret Passage a little bit more. He could have cleared off the... maybe go Penflinger and then Secret Passage just to get one of the damages in. Like, it had to be a very specific draw, which he did find here with the Prize Plunderer. That's a huge deal.
That's so clutch that he found the Plunderer. I was also looking at Penflingers into Passage. I'm not sure if you commit both or just one or none at all. But the bottom line is TIZS has found a clear. He lives to see another day. And Tom has at least this swing into the field contact, but his board replenishment is not quite as strong.
Yeah, I wonder if you just go for like double Crab Rider to clear up the rest of the board, or maybe even one Crab Rider and then spend the rest of your mana on Goody 2 shields or minions off first day at school, because as long as you clear up that minion there, you should be able to just keep swinging face every turn from here, I think.
I was interested in a Northwatch play, even though the Oh My Yog cost 2 mana.
Really?
But in that world, you also still fit in a first day of school, so starting with that and branching from there definitely makes sense. Now I think he has an opportunity to just flood the board with cheap minions. Go full zoo.
Okay, he's trading with the hammer instead, trying to lock board. I mean, again, as I said, there's a lot of aggression in this deck, but all the burst damage comes from having minions on board. So going for this play of going as wide as possible, clearing with the hammer, probably shows a little bit more intimacy and knowledge of his deck.
And we have TIZS once again going for some more cycle. I think he's used both of his prize plunderers, so we can take a look at specifically what's left for him here. Brain Freeze would be a pretty good one to get.
Yeah, just anything that keeps the draw coming, really.
And a Biscuit, okay. Just to bounce the Pen Flingers back. Alright.
I mean, is he not going Wicked Stab? Okay, I guess he's just going Pen Flingers again. Okay, fair enough. That's kind of cute.
Yes. He still has to face tank though, right? I mean, surely he's killing the Goody 2 shields.
Right. Both these Pen Flingers should have gone on the Goody 2 shields, right? And then you can use the dagger to clear off the Crab Rider.
Correct, correct. I am a bit confused. Strongly confused.
Up. Wow, okay. I mean, it's scary. Leaving a 4-attack minion on board here that didn't necessarily need to be there is mighty scary.
Absolutely. I mean, this is still not within range of, say, double... what's the ranked spell called? Conviction?
Mm.
Oh wait, it is, because the weapon is 3 attack. Yeah, I don't quite like the play from TIZS there. Like, the thought process was there, just the choice of what he ended up clearing up. Essentially, he killed a possessed villager instead of killing a 2 shields and having 1 less 1 thief on board. Easily able to clear up these Pen Flingers, and somehow has just been grinding out the Rogue with incremental damage turn after turn.
Yeah, the Pen Flingers going is just brutal with these Divine Shields still in play. Like, he can go, obviously, some kind of Wicked Stab, try and draw back up with Refreshing Spring Water, or the Swindle instead to get the board clear, but Secret's in play, making it harder to use that mana effectively. And if he gets Omar Yogged on this Spring Water, that is so much mana down the drain.
Yeah, that's brutal. But what could it be in the box? That's pretty good.
That's really good. Wow.
Wait, the Pen Flinger's back. And so is the Field Contact. He just doesn't have room in his hand. What happens now?
Well, now he burns a card from his deck, right? Which, sure, is not the end of the world. You're more worried about surviving.
I'm so confused now. He has full knowledge on what's left. It would be Octobot, 2 Brain Freeze, and Mancrix. Right? Was it? I don't know.
Okay, you can just freeze that and ignore it for the moment.
Whatever he's doing, he's just gotta go now. He can kill... Oh, he could only kill either the Crab Rider or the 2 shields, both of which are super threatening in the face of Conviction.
It's still not there, though. It's close, but it's not quite there. The Hammer of the Naru can set up 2-turn lethal, but then Wicked Stabs turn into rank 3. You're taking 12 damage from hand, potentially. Very likely, in fact, with all these cards being drawn. Tom needs to turn on the defensive now.
Oh man, is he gonna play Ring Toss for... Oh no, for Paladin?
No way.
It's the most defensive play, right?
Yeah. I mean, getting the Taunt online, I think, just feels...
Probably just enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you get the weapon to set up a potential lethal still, and get the taunt.
So is
2
that...
Wicked Stabs are there. There's gotta be something here, right?
Can he go Mancrick, Wicked? Ah, there's no mana to make it work with the Field Contact dead.
I'm looking for a few good mercenaries.
Going for a 1 cost here.
Poisonous?
If he gets the poison and shoot and hits the 6/6, then he's just a god.
I mean, he got offered poison and deal 3 damage.
Oh! Oh.
Still a big deal. He can clear the board now, right?
Yes, he can now survive on board. but it's quite awkward, the cost of doing so.
There's the secrets as well, though. The Galloping Savior might just be too much.
Oh, you're right. You're right. It's just not there anymore, even if he wickeds. Yeah.
He can't bounce anything back, doesn't have enough mana. Last card in the deck, like Freeze, I don't think would be enough mana left to do it. It was razor thin.
Wow.
But in the end, Tom's secret aggro paladin, varying from the vast majority of players, both in GM and on ladder, in terms of what the best version of the deck is. And honestly, it looked good there because he got a pretty good draw at the start, but it didn't look especially dominant. Like, it kind of got a bit scrappy towards the end, and he very almost ended up losing.
What comes to mind are two crucial turns that decided the flow of that game. One of them being where Tom had the 3 secrets up and the Crossroads Gossiper, which then turned into a 10 attack minion that went face and still required TIZS to deal with it. If I look at this turn again, I would need a solid 10 minutes to figure out the best way to approach this turn and whether there was actually a guaranteed way to get rid of the Gossiper for TIZS. Extremely difficult with the time he had left there. But the other crucial turn was when he ended up leaving a goody 2 shields on board, which could have been the difference maker because he ended up taking, what, 8 damage from that? When it could have just been a possessed villager. So definitely showing signs of stress under pressure for TIZS.
I agree. I think there were quite a few things there that could have been improved upon. Like, at the end with the Field Agent coming back off of Rally and burning the Penflinger, like, I can kind of forgive that because that's very uncharted territory, and burning the Penflinger when you have so little time is going to happen a lot of the time. I think we've seen it already this week in Grandmasters. But, you know, some of those other decisions I think definitely could have been tidied up. You need to have a very robust defense, very tight gameplay to fend off the likes of these aggro paladins that can throw down a lot of damage at the start. But now we're going to see the Rogue from tom60229. Mostly standard stuff, I will say. Looks like he's subbed out 1 Neophyte for 1 Ogremancer over the list we've seen from, what was it, Give Please, who favors the Ogremancer as well. It's a perfectly fine list. I think it's doing much of the same thing you're looking for, and it's still got the powerhouse cards in the early game of Watchpost, Mancrit, Kazakus, Jandis, and I guess you can add Ogremancer to that list of cards that are just pretty good to throw down in the early game.
That's true. I'm also pretty interested in the double Guardian Og Merchants. I feel like that was one of the first cards to get cut from the list, but it was added for a pretty obvious reason. It's there to give you an additional easy proc on your Octobot, which also sometimes gives you a bit more durability on field contact and just important minions such as that. It has synergy with field contact itself. So if anything, I'm a fan of just streamlining. If you're going for a certain direction of Rogue, this one being the Miracle version, I like going all in with all these cheap battle cries, making sure you get the maximum amount of card draw.
Well, on the other side, TIZS on the more traditional Secret Libram Paladin, taking a quick run through the list. Fairly standard stuff. Again, no judgment. Well, no judgment on the Libram of Judgment, I suppose, not being in the list is how I should say it. 1 Galloping Survivor instead of 1 Avenge, which I think is a little bit more common. I am a big fan of Galloping Survivor being a 2 of in the list. I think, in general, Avenge makes sense to have the to be the 1 of Secret in the list if you're going down that route. But either way, I think it is still a great matchup for Tom to get himself into here, and very possibly going up 2-0, because while that Rogue matchup against the other way, the Aggro Paladin, was very, very close, I think this matchup is probably a little bit better for the Rogue overall, and I expect, as always, very tight gameplay from tom60229.
Oh, but that's a banger of a hand for TIZS to start with. Hello, double attendance and the sword and the Libram of Wisdom, which will be free in the very near future.
That is the juice. I honestly wouldn't be surprised to just see double attendant on 1. You can get the Librams rolling, a bunch of damage coming through, and the Sword of the Fallen to thin your deck. You're almost guaranteed a lot of good cards at that point.
Looks super strong here. The one consolation for Tom is that even if there is Hand of Adal here, oh my gosh, it would need to be Hand of Adal plus Libram of Wisdom to take down the Octobot in one fell swoop, but it is exactly that. Tom can get out of this game!
Yep, that is the correct reaction, Tom. You are in a bit of a TIZS now. I'm glad he can take it in good humor at least.
At least. Is this like Octobot and Fling It? What alternative is there?
I think this is the funniest thing that Tom has ever seen. Yeah, I mean, your options are what? You can pen fling your own Octobot, which does set up for a field contact, but I think it's just a little premature at this point. Like, you don't have enough of a chain to really make that worth it yet.
Yeah. Oh man, and I can't wait to see Tom's reaction to the sword following up this amazing opener as well.
While it may seem a little counterintuitive, if you are going to go Sword of the Fallen plus Knight of the Anointment, I think you're just supposed to swing with a sword first and not see what your card draw is, because you don't want to draw Avenge as the one holy secret. But going for this route of just going maximum secret development instead is perfectly reasonable.
Means that Tom doesn't have an easy, say, Wicked Stab to get rid of his big attendant here. Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah. So if you were to go Octobot Penflinger now, it doesn't even really feel worth it, does it? Because you're going to go Jandis next turn anyway, which doesn't really change the maths, because I doubt you're going to go Jandis plus Plunderer.
That's right. I hate that I'm suggesting this, but I'm honestly looking at Field Contact just as a 3-attack card.
Right.
The way it lines up on the field is pretty good, to be fair.
That's true.
But it really guts his card drop potential in the near future. So I can see a world where it's just, yeah, something like this. Play the Octobot to just eat up 4 damage, essentially, and then set up for Jandis next turn.
Oh, it's so clean. Yep, swing, anoint.
Good order.
May the light grant you peace. Reporting for duty.
Even has the Truth Seeker. It's gonna be, everything's gonna be so cheap, and then Lady Liadrin's gonna bring it all back.
What makes something?
All right, we're looking for a miracle here, Jandis. It's okay. Drawing a card is nice.
Yes.
But I mean, with both Octobots gone already, this a card draw isn't what Tom needs. It's just the ability to play the cards he's going to have.
Oh, he even... Oh, sorry. Never mind. The illusion
I
must
thought
be
the
on the
same thing.
5-3, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you'd think so.
And then it's 4-5. You see what gets avenged.
Oof.
Okay, if you knew it was the 7-4 that gets buffed, then you're supposed to put the illusion on the other one, even if you miss out on the card draw, I think.
Yeah, probably, huh?
But, of course, he didn't know.
Well, now he does know. He can take that out, swing into the Jandis. Honestly, probably just leave the Brute in play, let it swing into your Aldor Truth Seeker. You do not really care about that. And just get yourself 7 damage to the dome.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to protect the 7-4 with this taunt, so just easy going for TIZS. Okay. Field contact, now is the time, if there's any.
Oh, do you think? I guess if you get Shadow Step, then maybe you could make something work with Plunderer. I was honestly just looking at Secret Passage there. Or I guess...
The situation looked desperate enough to me that he either needed to rip the step off of the field contact or rip something like a Brain Freeze from the One Thief.
And I mean, it's just gone from desperate to more desperate, because even though that is a Shadow Step, there's Oh My Yogg in play, so he knows that it's not even going to get to be played on this turn.
At least he can get rid of the 7-3.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
And he can... VT? Question mark? Nope, he cannot.
Nope. Oy,
Oh,
oy, oy.
Tom's expression of pain.
Fight back these brutes.
This certainly happens, the sword certainly happens, and I guess the fling now certainly happens as well. With that draw, all of TIZ's problems are solved.
Yeah, you're just killing the field contact then and leaving everything else in play.
Right. I don't think the Penlinger is a threat, honestly. I would rather kill the field contact.
Yeah, so would I.
Alternatively, you kill the 2 right-hand minions. It just feels to me as though if your opponent is spending 1 mana to deal 1 damage next turn against your board, it's too slow. But if he's going to clear everything anyway, sure, this works too.
Yeah, I'm on board with this line. I think this is perfectly fine. Like, there weren't that many secrets left, I think, to actually pull there. It was like 1 Oh My Yogg, I think. But this way, you kill off all the big minions. Honestly, dealing with the prize plunder is a big deal in its own right. Just on board, it can still be shadow stepped back and make a big difference.
Good point. Okay, Tom gets cycle.
All right. Devolving missiles.
Yes.
Think we might be pretty much there in terms of any chance whatsoever of wrestling this one back.
That's the one.
Looking for a plunderous shadow step.
Even if you got that, there would still be 1 minion left, right?
Yeah.
I kind of felt like that was a Wand Thief turn. Not to rag on Tom too hard because he was obviously on a terrible position, but I don't know what you can get off passage there with the mana remaining that justifies playing Penlinger first.
Well, it mattered not in the end. TIZS takes the expected victory after a disgusting start. It happens every so often where you get the Hand of Adal plus the Libram of Wisdom, to be able to cleanly take care of the Octobot. And when it does happen, you're obviously in a fantastic position. So we're equalizing the game at equalizing the series, at 1 game apiece here. And if nothing else, it was worth it for Tom's reaction.
So this is how my Octobot ends, with thunderous applause. Just a clinic put on by TIZS here, definitely redeeming himself from last game, where I think it's very fair to say there were some blips towards the middle and the end of the game, although it does mean that we do not have another clean sweep series on our hands here, Derek. We had series 2 and 3 of today go really fast, but this one, I have a feeling it could get right down to the wire.
I'm glad. I like a 3-0 sweep. I like to keep the momentum going, but I also love a tense match here with 2 very strong competitors. Again, especially as it means very different things for both of our players here. tom60229 has reached the top of the summit, right? He's proven everything you need to prove as a Hearthstone player by becoming the world champion. And it's really just about securing his legacy at this point, trying to prove that he's up there with truly the best all-time players across a wide span and not just having 1 or 2 good results and leaving it at that. TIZS on the other side, very much at the start of his journey, trying to rise up, get to that point where he can go to the World Championships and get another APAC win on the table for the World Championships. And so I love that there's so much on the table for both of these players, but in very different regards. And for now, TIZS once again having a go with this rogue. Didn't go his way the first game, but maybe in the mirror, things will go more his way, as it is, aside from a couple of tech choices here, as close to a mirror as we're going to get this series.
Absolutely, and I think it's most reflective of APAC's meta as a whole, because now that we've got Tom's sort of wildcard Paladin already getting a win, and TIZS's own Paladin outside of play, the mage is also banned, we're just seeing a lot of very common matchups, you would think, left here. And TIZS with the Cult Neophyte off the top, that is a very welcome sight, because otherwise his hand was looking pretty dreadful.
Yeah, it was an interesting keep from Tom. Octobot, 100%. Mancrick, 100%. Ogremancer, yeah, probably as well, actually. You're likely just to be able to play it on 3 or 4 after, or maybe even before your Mancrick with the Octobot thrown in there as well. But Guardian Orc Merchant, I don't know. I think that you don't necessarily need to guarantee yourself an activator for your Octobot. It's very likely to go off in the early game in the Rogue Mirror.
Pretty interesting that TIZS is not a pre-activate Octobot gamer. That's a debate we've been having quite a lot here. In the end, prioritizing the damage to the face, maybe not quite so synergistic with the draw he had, which is Watch Post and further card draw.
Man, TIZS is a man of extremes, isn't he? He either has everything or absolutely nothing, because this man is truly trash.
And Tom has Ogremancer on 4. My goodness. Backbreaking. I don't know how TIZS comes back from this.
Yeah, like you were saying, it feels more than ever now like Ogremancer is truly the third watch post. It's not whatever the 4-mana one is called. It's this bad boy right here.
Yes.
Stopping you from doing anything to pull your way back. Oh my god, it's just brutal.
I forgot there was a 4-mana watch post. Thanks for reminding me. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's gonna be so many 2/2s, but
yeah.
no choice. At least he gets to draw cards.
More spooky, scary skeletons than an uninspired Twitter account around Halloween. And now for Tom, you really just kick things into overdrive, right? You gained the board at the start. Your opponent's been piddling around with drawing cards, but you just don't want to do this as Rogue until like turn maybe 7, but more likely 8 or 9 to draw your entire deck and then go for the Wicked Stabs to end the game thereafter. In this instance, you just want to be playing stats on the board. That is the game plan in the early and middle turns for Rogue, and TIZS is just not doing that. No Mankrik, no Jandis, no Kazakus, nothing to swing this one back.
And second Ogremancer for Tom is just completely shutting TIZS out of this game. Brain Freeze with Prize Plunder, still not enough, right?
Found the Jandis, but yeah, I struggle to see a world where that is high enough tempo to swing this one back. Like, you know, double Earth Elemental is kind of where we're at, or Earth Elemental plus Twilight Runner, something absurd like that, to swing this one around.
To me, it feels like TIZS needs a Miracle Wand Thief Discover. You can see how Tom has this Flame Strike in hand. If TIZS had somehow had that in his back pocket, there was a way back into the game, even if your opponent had as dominant of a start as this. But there's just almost no time. Even if he gets the Wand Thief off the top, there's not much mana for him to work with. Picking up the Mask of Cthulhu, very wise as well, because he knows all he has to do is push for lethal at this point.
It's just how it is. Mask OP in and out of game, it would seem, but this Jandis needs, again, to be truly miraculous. Aegwin, one of the better cards to get, you know, upping your spell damage, your Wicked Stabs, your Brain Freezes, doing a little bit more, but this is going to be the end of a very, very quick series here, as I think, I mean, Tom has a few ways to close this one out, right?
Quick game. I don't want to call it a series just yet.
True. And to be fair, this is a better clear than I was actually expecting on this turn. I was kind of just thinking he'd be dead to Mask of Cthulhu or Penfling plus the Wicked Stabs, but not quite yet, at least.
Give it one more turn, approximately. Okay, if TIZS hits the 1-mana shoot Poison Golem and it gets the Ogremancer, can he stay alive on board?
Kind of, with Cult Neophyte. If he gets Cult Neophyte and Shadow Step and plays it again or something absurd like that, I think even then he would be dead, but on board at least, he's maybe getting there.
Yeah, it's just factoring in the Mask and the Wicked Stab. Yeah. Tom here is just debating whether he wants to Shadow Step the Wand Thief, I suppose. Feels a bit unnecessary to me right now. I'd rather keep it for the flexibility with Penflinger in hand. Okay, if you got the Miracle 1 cost and then you can Shadow Step it and shoot the 2 bigger minions, that's already not it. No poison.
Yeah, he's got lifesteal, so you can gain some health back at least if you get the deal 3 damage, Shadow Step it, do it again. But obviously if you Shadow Step, you're just making more skeletons.
Yeah. It's real rough.
Okay, he's going Brush in 3. Fair enough. Yeah, now just bump it and then Shadow Step it and play it again.
Forehead. Yeah, I think at this point you just go Neophyte and then pray that you're somehow alive next turn.
Yeah, that sounds about as good as anything to me.
He can kill off the Wand Thief with the dagger and the trade.
And then on the other side, that's just lethal, right? Even with the extra mana, you can play 3 Penflingers plus the Wicked Stab. I mean, you only need 2 actually with the damage taken from the Wand Thief. So I think that's just G to the G.
Correct. Mask not OP in this situation, but in the real world, always OP.
Quite right. Yeah, nicely done there by Tom. Just hitting the absolute juice. He knew exactly what he was looking for. Very, very well played, prioritizing maximum stat expenditure and development in the early turns, whereas TIZS, kind of a victim of just a bad draw. Not much you can do about it. It happens sometimes with these decks. Those, those kind of field contact, early game field contact hands can be good, but you have to hit Octobot to go alongside it. You have to reduce all those 1 mana cards plus the field contact for it to really do anything. Didn't get that, so it is down now just to Tom's final remaining deck, which I believe is the Druid to get over the finish line now.
That's going to be a very interesting one. Just looking back at this replay, it really stands out to me just how much of a pain the Ogremancer is to deal with in the mirror. I mean, every time I see this card in a list, I underestimate it. I kind of just see it as, this is the 29th and 30th card, but it's looking like it's quite core in a lot of these strategies. Maybe it's the fact that people played watch posts that people realize that even older cards that let you disrupt your opponent's game plan can be quite powerful, especially in this meta where both Rogue and Paladin, and to an extent Mage, are heavily reliant on playing many spells in a single turn.
Yeah, some genius was like, man, I wish I could attack with my watch post. That would be busted. Hold on a second here. And you can play it for like 3 mana in Rogue as well. So I guess it does make sense. Again, I think that the development of Rogue and how the different lists will change as time goes on will be very interesting, especially even factoring in if any nerfs come down. Because obviously with everyone throwing out the expected cards, mainly being Jandis, that people are expecting the nerfs to hit next week, I think the list could still look very, very similar. And it's just how you bolster that extra mid-game push that will be the big question. Maybe Ogremancer, because it's not fighting for that 5-cost slot with Jandis and the Kazakus Golem, could become more prevalent in Rogue. Maybe this is ahead of the curve for Tom. We will have to see, but that won't be until next week because his Rogue is out of the way. It's just that Druid left over, and a very standard Druid it is, as we are getting our first token Druid mirror. A literal exact 30 for 30 mirror between our 2 competitors here. And this is just the APAC special. This is our local cuisine here, is token Druid mirrors.
I was gonna say, Jarek, it's been a while, but this feels like we have gone back home. It's the old, who gets the Lightning Bloom Glowfly, who gets the Fungal Fortunes, and importantly, who's on the coin, because having extra spells and the more mana flexibility is very important for Glowfly's form. I will say, though, that I have not played this mirror in the current meta, and there's definitely more room for alternate strategies compared to back in the days when Guardian Animals was the center of the deck. Gibberling can make the battle happen a lot earlier than you might expect in other situations, and also the Thorngrove Sentries, I wonder if that is a card that's worth just playing down on turn 2 if you don't have anything better, and if you can build that up and say, try to take value trades.
Well, interesting right out of the gate there. Both players presented with a Glowfly Swarm. As you were saying, I fully agree. It's one of the cornerstones of the matchup, of any matchup, really. But only Tom holding on to it. It makes sense, given that he's on the coin, he's likely to have more spells in hand. He can maybe get it out a turn earlier. But given that TIZS was looking for something else to do in these early turns, he has most certainly found that with, what looks like a turn 2 play here of Gibberling, Bloom studies Thorngrowth, but instead he's just going in right on turn 1 instead.
I also had that knee-jerk reaction of this looks like turn 2, so you can get the maximum usage out of your Gibberling, but I think this is a very cool spot from TIZS, where because he's on the play, Tom has to expend some type of card to actually get rid of the Spellburst Gibberling. Most likely the coin, if not an Innervate, something along those lines. So TIZS is actually very likely to just get the benefit next turn anyway of the extra Gibberling and gets the immediate damage of these 3 going face as well.
It's really interesting because it goes even deeper than that, doesn't it? It also factors in that Tom kept 2 cards in hand. One of those could very possibly be a Gibberling of his own, and you really want to be the first person on the board. And so TIZS is kind of taking what is almost objectively like a worse line in a way here by going for this way of leaving it undefended. Thorn Growth is floating mana on turn 2. But it's just kind of better in this exact instance because of the disruption that it affords Tom's game plan.
Right, I think this is brilliant from TIZS. And next turn, he has Bloom into Arbor up. I got super excited to see that top deck, and then I realized Nature Studies, let's not do that. Next turn, it's going to be insane. For Tom right now, these are cards you really would have wanted to see 2 metas ago. But not right now.
Yeah, a little bit slow. Like, Overgrowth you could just take to play next turn, and it's still pretty good, right? Unless they have Lightning Bloom into Arbor up, then you're in a pretty good spot. If they do have this, though, you are going to be dead long before you reap the benefits of those extra mana crystals.
I love Tom's expressions. I was just waiting for it. And it finally appeared, the legendary clap from Tom.
So if we were to see Lunar Eclipse Bloom, that would be 16 exactly on board. He would just be dead. So Tom simply throws it down. And you know what? That was about exactly as toxic as I was expecting of a mirror match there between our two competitors. Very little that Tom could do. But, you know, even though it was really one decision in that entire game for TIZS, it was a very, very interesting one, and that's often the case in Token Druid. You have less decisions, but they are of the utmost importance. If you mess them up, the game can just slip away. And, you know, as you were saying, it was forcing the coin and the hero power from his opponent, and also just guaranteeing to be ahead on board right from the get-go. That was a very important factor.
Absolutely. I mean, in this instance, it played out in a way that seemed very uninteractive because TIZS immediately drew the best possible follow-up to the play he went for, which is all in on turn 1. He had the Lightning Bloom and the Arbor up to close out the game. Had that not been the case, though, of the immediate Arbor up follow-up, I think Tom still had some counterplay, but it doesn't mean that TIZS' play was wrong. In fact, I really, really like TIZS' turn 1 play. It goes to show how much disruption in this meta, in general, is valuable.
And that does mean that we're all the way through to game 5 here. No decisions to be made as to which decks to queue. It is just one left for each of our competitors. TIZS has had an absolute time of it on this Rogue. I think that's the only deck he's lost with so far. He's 0-2 on the Rogue this series, both in the Mirror and against the Paladin. And so now he's really got to turn things around. And already we're seeing that kind of opening hand that I was talking about coming into effect, because I don't agree with this starting hand necessarily from TIZS. Keeping the field contact is not something you generally want to do. But if you ever keep it, it's only because you already have Octobot to reduce that whole hand and try and draw a million.
Indeed. I am also just going to have to ask a couple more Rogue experts about this, because I think, especially versus Druid, the field contact might be a bit sus. I think you would value watch posts, things with a bit more stats on them early on. The turn 1 Gibberlings have returned, and it's for pretty much the same reason as we were talking about a while ago. If TIZS wants to deal with this, he has to coin. There's no backstab in this list. Or he has to play a Naked Penflinger, which is not very likely to be kept in the opening hand.
Oh, it's so weird, right? What does turn 1 Gibberling say to you? Does it say, my hand is full of buffs, and if I leave this up, I'm just going to win the game? Or does it say, I don't care about this, so just go for it? Like, is it a bluff, a double bluff, a triple bluff? How many layers deep do you go? Because, I mean, if he just carried on there and gone like Coin Octobot, it would have worked out great for him in this instance.
I mean, it's hard to answer that without the bias of seeing exactly what goes on there. I think it's pretty fair to say, though, that if they play Gibberling on 1 and don't immediately follow up with a bunch of spells, that means they're okay with the possibility of it getting daggered down. However, even if you do just play Octobot and call that bluff, the benefit you get is there in that you cheapen your hand, but they still get to play at the very least one spell most of the time, right? And then the Gibberling goes off.
It's a close one for sure, but Tom throwing away the Gibberling right from the get-go is instead leading up to the secondary way of building a big board, the Glowfly Swarm. A huge deal here, and it forces TIZS, or so he would think, onto going for a totally different plan, not even playing out the Man Crick here, and instead trying to delay the Glowfly for a full turn.
I mean, it's a delay, but what he gets out of that delay is a grand total of 1 damage to face with that Octobot. I don't know. We can field contact and Og Merchant. Field contact even. I don't think you necessarily want the discount on this hand.
Oh,
But
that's interesting.
if you preemptively set up the field contact and the expected play of Glowfly Swarm is there, you have a lot of protection and you can then get the discount with the Octobot and clear up quite a bit with the Brain Freeze and Prize Plunder.
I like the idea. I think I just like getting Mancrick down instead. It is a bigger body right now. Getting the reduction on field contact kind of does the same thing as tempoing it out on the next few turns. And also Mancrick's wife is now in the deck and you're going to draw a lot of cards that might matter in the next few turns.
It's true. I guess the only upside of my play was you get the Guardian down that turn and it can attack.
I mean, that top deck for Tom was the nuts, right? He can now just get Soul of the Forest on this board, or double buff if he wants to instead.
Oh my gosh.
Just all in on the damage.
Yeah, this is insane. It means the Octobot just can't even trade anymore to get the discount. It means the Og Merchant has to do that job, and TIZS has not very much mana to work with.
Yeah.
So the discount happens and you go Field Contact, Prize Plunder, Brain Freeze. You have 2 mana left. Sorry, Brain Freeze before the Prize Plunder.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
As long as you can survive, you need something like that to start happening.
Seems like a big ask. I do agree with the Swindle over, say, playing the second Field Contact at the beginning of the turn. I think he needed to hit second Prize Plunderer.
Yeah.
Something along those lines is to say in it.
Well, that's 2 more of them dead. Only 4 left on the board. You're not dying to that. Ooh, and especially with Shadow Step, he can clear another one off the board. Is this enough? He has so much stuff on the board. Tom doesn't have the damage to close it out immediately without Savage Roar in the deck.
Correct. This is insane. This is a lot more cleared up than I thought it could possibly be.
Yeah. This was absolutely massive. That Shadow Step, the importance of it cannot be overstated.
And so this Power of the Wild is only, what, +3/+3 on the board? Not super impressive, but I think that's the line for Tom still. Then he trades down the Field Contact and sends 10 to face. Oh man, I don't think he can stay in this.
Like, I think the impression to take away is this board does not get there. It's going to be cleared up, even if it's not on this turn, in the next couple of turns. So how do you win from here? Do you just go for the buff take value trades? Do you go innovate into Fungal Fortunes to try and find another Glowfly?
I think it's Power of the Wild. I'm not sure if it's trades or face though. I don't like the Innervate Fungal because next turn you could go Fungal and then just Innervate Glowfly at that point.
Waits for no one.
Immediate stat seems like the way to go. There's even an argument for Hero Power to deal with 1 more minion.
Oh, just goes with Hero Power.
Looks like he's gonna take all the trades then, which I can respect. It's completely consistent in one line. Whether this line is enough, it remains up to debate, but I think all 3 of us, you, me, and Tom, are in agreement that this board alone does not get there if it's all sent to the face.
It's quiet. Too quiet.
And just look at how
So
big of a deal
easy
this...
for Tin to... Yeah, he can just pick this apart with removal.
Right, and not only that, but this Mancrick, like, obviously the board can be dealt with anyway, but the pressure just keeps coming in. It means no matter how wide Tom goes here, there's always going to be the ability to lock this one out.
Neophyte is backbreaking as well. Even if Tom gets Glowfly, it's not playable. And very likely, even if he does get to play it with Soul of the Forest next turn, he's just dead. Okay, Lunar changes things a bit.
Like, landscaping is Yeah, landscaping is the pessimistic pick because you could just go solar landscaping, innovate into Soul of the Forest. Like, it allows you to get something on the board at least, but I agree, Guess the Weight does look a little more tempting.
Yeah. I think Tom really needs to be optimistic at this point. He is looking for that one Glowfly that's left in his deck. To a certain extent, Arbor Up maybe. So I would take the card draw here. Tom agrees. Oh no, that is just the nail in the coffin.
That's got to be it. I don't see a way back in with that one. Even make their spells cost more. So even if they want to play their spells, which cost $1 million, they then also have to deal with the fact that they're going to be getting a 2-2 on the board on the other side every single turn.
And this rogue gets to play more Hearthstone than any other deck in terms of amounts of decisions and cards played, but it also makes you play the least amount of Hearthstone ever between the Ogre Masters, the Watch Posts, and the Cult Neophyte.
And at this point, I really don't even know what he is digging for. Can he discover any Druid spells? Like, if he gets himself Celestial Alignment and has a massive board or some nonsense like that. I'm getting way too deep down in there already. And Tom does end up throwing it down despite looking dominant at the start of the series. His aggro Secret Paladin steamrolling over the Rogue, winning the Rogue mirror as well. TIZS on his Rogue play just wasn't looking strong enough to take down Tom. But that one in the end was a clinic there from TIZS. Very, very nice gameplay. Keeping the field contact is kind of the question mark there, but that strategy of going for an early field contact play in the end worked out gorgeously.
It was truly a huge difference between having the Shadow Step for a second prize plunderer or not. I think if there had been a single 4/4 that had been left more there, then Tom going for Power of the Wild and send everything to face was justified and possibly even too much for TIZS to deal with at that point. Small, tiny margins, and yet again, prize plunderer. I keep going off about how good this card is. It's just the fact that it can be Shadow Step and come down for 0 is what makes Rogue able to cut backstab and feel comfortable about it. TIZS, I think, very much redeemed himself on the Rogue play, but I still want to commend Tom for bringing